Welcome back to Film Bites. I'm Andy the Dad.
And I'm Jack the Lad.
And first and foremost, I think we have to have a massive apology.
Yes.
We've kind of fallen off the rails a little bit and not done a podcast for a little bit of time.
No.
It's just been one of those things where life has got in the way.
It really has.
Work commitments have got in the way. And it's just been a pain.
Yeah. Frankly, it's one of those where we've tried to find a slot. You know what? I've not actually said this to you at all, but maybe we should do something like catch-ups. So we watch those movies that we've missed recently and we report afterwards, but then maybe it won't hit as right in his right.
Yes,
but
we've got to try something. We know that, those two people that meet in a phone box that like us, they do want us to do more material. So
yeah.
Future plans, we'd like to get our faces actually on here, because I think one of the things that's been requested is you want to see what we look like.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you will after seeing that.
No.
But let's get back in the saddle. So last film we went to see was Night Swim, which was Blumhouse.
Same Blumhouse, yeah.
And this one, another Blumhouse,
which is Imaginary.
Imaginary, yes. So, do you want to kick us off, Jack?
So, where do we want to start?
Good question.
Going into this, not much to expect. We've got the simple idea of imaginary friend that seems to be a teddy bear named Chauncey, who, seems to interact relatively well with a child. It starts out well, and then, we go from there, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think this is the worst film I've ever seen by a long stretch.
No, exactly.
And I've got to admire the fact that they did try and put so many ideas into this film. But I think that's also the heart of the problem.
Yes.
We start out fairly sort of straightforward horror fare and a few little minor jump scares, nothing major. And we're kind of led into the story quite gently. But it's a film where I think it starts in a manner that it just doesn't know where it wants to go, and when it does go to where it wants to go, it kind of goes a bit wild.
Yeah, it feels like they've got a lot of ideas and they're trying to find the puzzle pieces for all of these ideas to stick together. And what they've done instead of actually fitting the pieces together is sometimes they do fit, there's a decent idea there, and then there's other times where it almost feels like they've just pressed in the pieces.
It's juxtaposed, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's almost like you've gone from one thing that feels fairly linear to then something that's non-linear to then a structure which was linear that is now not non-linear again, which you kind of just left scratching your head and going, so this is non-linear then. We've got twists and turns, we've got jump scares, we've got ideas that play around with the psychological parts as well.
The first twist that happens, we're not going to give away the twist, but the first twist that happens, I really quite enjoy.
I like that twist. I thought, you know what? I like that, because if you watch the movie, you might spot it. Yeah.
I thought it was nice, a nice, clever twist. But then we seem to have about a dozen more, and it stopped feeling like it was important.
It felt like the twists were from different movies.
That's a very good point,
and
actually.
They put them at the end.
Yeah. So we kind of opened with a little bit of what was Nightmare on Elm Street-y.
Very well. They weren't subtle, let's be honest. You had an extreme close-up, practically, on basically a newsletter. I won't go too much from there. It's not spoilery as such, but it's basically it's almost like, see, yeah, you see the Easter egg? It's not an Easter egg now, but it's an Easter egg, yeah.
And that kind of punctuated the film throughout.
Yeah.
So you started feeling like, okay, so we're redoing Insidious in a different way.
It really feels like other horror movies in a lot of ways. It's like Insidious, a bit of it, I thought. And I also got to say, I also felt with Insidious, especially in the third act.
Yeah. Bits of Labyrinth.
Well,
bits of Alice in Wonderland.
But let's be honest, Alice in Wonderland and Labyrinth, what's their motifs that they had taken from inspiration-wise, it's Max Escher with his paintings of the Escher paintings.
Yeah.
And I won't say any more than that, but there is a literal Escher painting that is used to symbolise something that would, be important in the sense. So.
I feel at times, I just feel like, I don't know whether this is Blumhouse and they've kind of got a big generic script and then they kind of plug stuff into this script from different ideas. But in this particular one, it felt like they must have had about 20 different ideas to put in the last act. And it kind of has this thing where you've got Megan, you've got Five Nights at Freddy's, you've got Night Swim recently, you've got this one. They all start to feel like thematically they're a bit generic.
They're a bit simple.
Yeah.
And that's coming from someone that obviously from a biased point of view, I really enjoyed Five Nights at Freddy's as a fan, but I can see why critically it is just a bit disappointing.
But I wasn't a massive fan and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Megan as well, but I thought Megan should have gone further.
Well, we know why it didn't go there, because that was due to TikTok. Kids latched on to that figure and went, oh, I like the look of
the dance thing.
And then obviously they toned it down. So this new Megan 2.0 is going to be a 12 now, which I think is a bit of a shame. But maybe now they can know how to push the lines to make it a 12A as dark as possible.
Yeah. But, so back to Imaginary.
Yeah.
So it's not awful.
But it isn't great.
Yeah.
And I think what we're left with is a bit of a jumbled mess. And the thing is, it's not a terrible movie. It's watchable. It has some fun moments.
Yeah.
I do like some of the quirkiness of it. I think there are some fun scares, which the trailers do give away.
Yeah.
So the first trailer gives away a big one, which I thought, oh, that's interesting. But as soon as you see where it is, you piece it together.
I mean, I do like the bear. I think
the bear is great, Chauncey, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the bear has got the potential to be one of those iconic children's toys that does go on to live outside of the movie.
I will say the problem I had, though, was I actually found Chauncey more adorable than I did scary. So I would actually say I would like to have that bear just because I can say I have that. And
at this moment, it wasn't ever. I mean, I think another problem with what Blumhouse is churning out at the moment is that they're not terrifying movies.
No,
they are. They're almost like Twilight Zone movies more than anything.
Yeah, so and that's probably the best way to put it. I don't want to elaborate on that because I think you've probably hit the nail on the head.
But you want more from it. You want to have general sort of visceral scares. If you go into a movie theatre to see a horror movie, you want it to be either horrific, scary, or both. And you certainly want to walk away still thinking about the movie.
Yeah.
But when I came out of the cinema after this, I just thought there was just too much going on. It lost itself towards the end.
The last felt like 3 different movies meshed into one.
Probably a dozen.
Probably a dozen, yeah. I mean, did you at all feel, this is how I felt, did you at all feel that it went from scary to action at one point? And then not just to action, but then adventure thriller?
It lost its way completely.
It felt really
and I think the engagement you had with just the 3 characters in it, it started to fall away. And by the end of it, it was just, I didn't feel like I wanted more of it. But I also feel like actually if they'd done, so there was when the first twist happened, which was really quite clever.
Subtle.
Yeah.
Wow. Subtle.
That I thought if it had chosen to go a slightly different path, this would have been a much better film. But instead, it kind of feels like we had these ideas for doing maybe 2 or 3 movies, and we've just slammed them all into one movie. And it's just too much.
Yeah. Even down to, I'm trying to carefully phrase my words here, even down to the layers of Chauncey. You know what I mean by that? So it's almost like when it comes to the understanding of Chauncey, let's say.
Yep.
That was a bit like, whoa, a bit left field there, eh? Where did that come from? I understand what you're going for. Where did that come from?
Again, it just feels like a little bit of disconnectivity from what was sort of the starting point of the movie. And then you kind of just think, I don't know whether I needed to watch that movie or not.
It is tough because it's a horror movie that we we saw the trailer of a while ago.
And the trailer looked fine.
And we thought, you know what, that looks like a bit of fun.
Yeah.
But what is promised in the trailer is very different to what you get.
Yeah.
And I've found that with Blumhouse movies at the moment, the trailers have felt a bit like that. So you get a promise of something, and then it all of a sudden just becomes a totally different thing. So, for example, I don't want to spoil too much about Five Nights at Freddy's, and I will say this as a fan, but I'm also going to say this in a critical way. It was nice that we had scares. It was nice that we had some genuinely interesting character development moments.
Yep.
Beat for beat. And then it's not scary. It's more childish in areas, I found. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some really dark moments, but there is a certain curveball with the animatronics that you kind of find. I mean, it makes sense, but it's also a bit like, whoa, that's a total tone shift. You know what I'm on about. What I'll say is, fought. And that's all I'll say. If you've watched the movie, then you'll know what I mean, hopefully. But that was a tone shift. There was a bit like, okay, I wasn't quite expecting that.
I think there's the same fundamental problems in Imaginary.
Yeah, and it's one of those movies where I think, I went into it, didn't really have many expectations. I've come out of it going, actually, I wanted a bit more.
Yeah.
But I didn't want as much more as what the ending gave me. I wanted more throughout the course of the movie, not all of a sudden it being thrusted at me at the end of it.
And not only that, just sort of that reminded me, the dialogue goes from being quite sort of normal situation.
You're nodding, you're going fair.
So all of a sudden, it feels like it's narrating what you should be seeing on screen, or what you should be feeling, or why this should have been happening.
A bad sign of a third act is when something is happening visually that is spectacular, and then you've got a character that is telling you piece by piece by piece the things that are happening.
And that's exactly what happened.
And it's like, I think I can piece that myself, thank you. But why do you need to tell me this? Is it because the viewers aren't going to understand? And I don't mean to be rude, but it tends to be that, we've heard this many times in the past, that certain directions and certain ideas have to be explained to the viewer because Americans, quote, don't understand it sometimes. That's actually a thing that happens sometimes with Hollywood. And half the time, they don't need the explanation. And in this occasion, we really didn't need it.
We didn't. So anyway, Imaginary, I would say, with regards to this one, I wouldn't bust a gut to go and get to the cinema.
No.
Wait for it to come on streaming. It'll take an hour and 40 minutes of your time. But in all honesty, don't expect too much from it.
Get the popcorn ready. You might need to get 2 batches worth because it is proper popcorn eating material.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Film Bites Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our discussion about all things film. We love creating content for movie buffs like you. And if you had a good time today, please consider supporting us. We have a little favour. If you liked what you saw and heard, give that like button a gentle tap down there. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode from us. We try and publish at least 1 episode each week, so stay in the loop for more movie magic and insightful discussion. Also, don't be shy to ring that notification bell. It's like your personal VIP pass to our latest content. Your support genuinely means the world to us. It's what keeps us going and growing as a podcast. So, from the bottom of our movie-loving hearts, thank you. Remember to follow us on social media and feel free to leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comments. We love hearing from you. Until next time, Film Biters, keep watching, keep loving, and keep sharing your film passion with the world. Thanks for being part of the Film Bites podcast community. See you in the next episode.